Yo, what's up guys? This is Birdsnader from Birdsnader Fitness Designs, and today we're talking about the 8 keys to learning. Alright, so the 8 keys to learning. This is something I got from the book Mastery by Robert Greene. If you haven't read this book yet, I highly recommend it. It's an amazing book, teaches you everything you need to know from going from a novice to a master at something to finding your life's mission and going through all the stages in between. In the middle of the book, he talks about the apprenticeship phase and the learning and how to learn most effective in that apprenticeship phase. And that's where these 8 keys of learning are derived from. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So the first key to learning is that learning is always better than any kind of short-term gain you can get. Whether it's monetary or some other kind of gain, it's always better to learn, to increase your personal value, to build yourself up as a person. It's very easy to chase that carrot when it's dangling right in front of you. It's a lot harder to realize. You have to step off the treadmill if you ever want to actually get that carrot. So building your personal value, building your abilities, learning more, always more powerful. And as you do that, you'll realize that instead of chasing results, the results will come to you. Because money, success, even fitness results, they always choose the person of higher value, the person that has more abilities. There's actually a great quote from Tai Lopez that I really love. It says, don't chase what you want, elevate your game until what you want chases you. So that's the exact same idea. Learning is always better than any kind of short-term gain. So the second key to learning is to infinitely expand. There is no boundary to how far you can take yourself, how far you can build your value, how much you can learn, how much knowledge you can attain. And by keeping that idea that you can just continue to push, to grow as a person, that just expands your values to places that you never thought you could go. Every time you start to feel comfortable, that is a sign that you need to change something up. You need to meet new people, expose yourself to new situations, learn new material, whatever it is, continue to grow as a person and keep yourself outside of your comfort zone. So there's actually this thing that I like to say a lot on my newsletter, that happiness does not equal comfort. A lot of people think that when they're comfortable, they're happy or whatever. But the truth is that happiness and comfort are actually opposites. People are the most happy when they're evolving, when they're growing as people, and they're evolving to the next stage of who they can become and constantly trying to build themselves up. If you are always in your comfort zone, you are never going to be building yourself up, because that only happens when you push your boundaries, when you get outside of your comfort zone and take yourself to that next level where you're going to actually expand, where you're going to actively take things up and knock yourself up to the next level. So whenever you're uncomfortable, always think about reframing it. Don't just feel uncomfortable, nervous, feeling that tension and thinking it's a bad thing. Instead, all it means is that what you're doing is important, that what you're doing actually matters. So when you start to feel uncomfortable and when you start to feel nervous, that's a good thing. Just flip it in your head. Say, I'm feeling this nervousness, my heart rate is up, I'm a little bit uncomfortable right now. That means this is important. That means I have to do this. That means that what I'm doing right now is utterly important. So make that switch permanently and always try to stay outside of your comfort zone, and you will just infinitely expand and continue to grow as a person. So the third key to learning is that you have to strip your ego. You have to remove the blocks that the ego sets up. So your ego likes to feel special, it likes to feel unique, it likes to separate itself from other people and think that it knows more than them. And if you go into any kind of learning situation like that, even if it's something as small as saying, well, I already know a thing or two about that, you're already setting up these internal barriers that are preventing you from absorbing the material. And that's the only thing that you want to be focusing on when you're learning. It's just absorbing the material, taking it all in and internalizing it and putting it into your brain. Don't even worry about analyzing it. You can analyze it after the fact. For now, when you're learning, just absorb it. Be like a child. Be innocent, be receptive, and just let it all absorb into you. When you have the ego, it's kind of like using a hammer to open a jar. It's the wrong tool. It's not going to work. It's blocking you from taking that material and letting it imprint onto you. So whenever you're in any kind of learning situation, just relax, accept the new material. Even if you don't agree with it, don't worry about that yet. You're not in the stage of trying to analyze it yet. You are in the stage of learning. Just learn it, let it come in, and then later on, put the pieces where they need to go. Now, the fourth key to learning is to have faith. And when I say faith, I'm not talking about any kind of religious undertone or any other connotation or connection that you might have to that word. All that I mean by faith is that you're trusting that in something that you can't see, something that's not an instant gratification. Anything substantial that's worth achieving in this world, in this life, is not going to come to you instantly. It's going to take some time. It's going to be something that you have to put in the work and just trust that the work you're doing is going to yield you the results that you want. That delayed gratification, that trust in the process, that is faith. That's what that means. So always have faith in the process, commit yourself to the work, and realize that what you're doing will have an impact. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't always be striving to make the best actions that you can. You should always be trying to take the best actions you can and analyzing the results and trying to improve those actions. But you still have to have faith that what you're doing is going to have an effect. So the fifth key to learning is to learn to love pain and resistance. There's two big philosophies out there. Epicureanism is the one that says that it's kind of the YOLO mindset, that you only live once, so you might as well enjoy it now. And if that's your main mindset for life, then you're going to be cultivating this lazy attitude, self-entitlement, and you're not really going to achieve anything fulfilling, because as we've talked about, that takes time, that takes work. It's also said that that's how nations die, because things start to fall apart when people get too entitled and too lazy. On the other hand, we have Stoicism, and they say that that's how nations are born. In Stoicism, they say that work is an acquired taste, that work is a good thing, that you learn to love the work and achieve those things that are really fulfilling in your life, then that's the best of all. And I have to agree, there's no better feeling than building yourself up as a person and improving your self-worth. It makes life an incredible journey, and you get all these amazing things that really fulfill you as a person. Now, ultimately, there should be a balance. You should have the Stoicism and you should have Epicureanism. Work hard for what you want and enjoy the work and get those things that fulfill you, but then also have times in your life where you sit back and you relax and you enjoy life for what it is and take all the things and reap those rewards. Now, the sixth key to learning is to disconnect from your failures. It might sound a little bit corny to say that the only true way to fail is to give up, but that's 100% true. Any kind of short-term failure, any kind of transient failure you have, is just reference experience for the future. That means that anytime you're in a similar situation, you will have that experience to rely on, so you can avoid mistakes. You can try different paths that you might not have tried before. It gives you a whole new perspective. Failure is actually a blessing. It's actually a really good thing, but only if you can separate from it and view it objectively. If you can disconnect yourself from the failure, take the emotion out of it, and just view it as a lesson, then that's when you can really get the most productive and efficient learning from failure. If you're putting your self-worth into it, then anytime you fail, you're just going to, self-esteem is going to get pummeled into the ground. It's not going to help you on the journey. But if you disconnect, like I said, you take your emotions out of it, view it objectively, then it can become an opportunity for one of the best learning experiences of your life. Now, the seventh key to learning is to understand both the what and the how. Whenever I'm giving advice or creating programs for someone, I always also explain how it works, because understanding that behind the scenes stuff helps you make all these connections and helps you internalize the information more and be more effective with it. It gives you such a better perspective. And on top of all that, if you know why you're doing something and how it works, that motivates you so much more. You're not just doing something because somebody told you, you're doing something because you know what it's giving you, what it's doing, how it's working, and what you're achieving. Now, the eighth and final key to learning is trial and error. First-hand experiences are absolutely necessary if you're going to take any information and really internalize it and make it a part of who you are. Second-hand experiences are great. Whether you're reading it in a book or you're talking to somebody else, you're gaining that knowledge, that's awesome. But if you want to make it a part of who you are and internalize it, you have to experience it yourself. I use this analogy a lot of times of a satellite rotating around the Earth. That second-hand knowledge it's near you, but it's not a part of you. It's on your periphery. As soon as you have that first-hand experience and you're able to connect that knowledge to an actual experience you have, now that satellite comes down, it becomes part of who you are, it becomes part of the Earth. You might fail, but as we talked about before, that's not a bad thing. Failure is a blessing. Failure teaches you a lot of things, and it teaches you productively and efficiently. It's kind of like a missile moving towards a target. It's not going to go straight towards the target. It's going to go off a little bit, and then it's going to course correct and come back on, and then maybe course correct back a little bit, and eventually it's going to hit the target because it's moving forward and moving back and forth and correcting as it goes. That's what trial and error is. You go, you fail, but you learn and you start to course correct. But the inherent requirement of all that is that you are moving forward. You have to be taking action and moving forward as that missile, otherwise you won't reach the goal. So don't worry about failing, just worry about acting and use trial and error in order to correct yourself as you go along the way. Now, I'm sure you have tons of light bulbs going off right now. It was the same for me when I first learned this information. It's really grade A stuff that can change your life if you let it. But because you're someone who takes action and bets on yourself, invests in yourself, and takes risks, I know that you're going to use this information for good. You're going to learn everything you can. You're going to increase your personal value and grow and expand infinitely as a person until you achieve what you want. And then you're just going to keep going because You love growing. You love learning. So get out there and leave no stone unturned. I'm super excited to see what you are going to unleash upon the world. Peace.